Hi, I'm Amy Bouton, Public Information Officer for St. Tammany Parish Government. We're here today with a COVID-19 update. We are joined today by Judge Dawn Amaker, District Judge for Division L and Chief Judge of the 22nd Judicial Court System, and Judge Richard Swartz, District Judge for Division C of the 22nd Judicial Courts. They're going to join us today and give us an update on the reopening of the 22nd Judicial Court System. Thank you both for joining us today.
Good morning.
Thank you, Amy. Good morning. We're happy to be here.
Great. Thank you. So everyone is anxiously talking about and waiting on the reopening of St. Tammany Parish, and that includes the court system where many people have business to do. So let's talk about what's going to happen in the coming days and what people need to know as we begin this phase 1 reopening. And let's start with what is going to happen sort of right off the bat in the month of the rest of the month of May.
Okay, and I'll start off. I'm the Chief Judge, but I asked Judge Swartz to come today too for two reasons. One is he was the Chief Judge immediately preceding me and has a lot of institutional knowledge here about the court system. And then secondly, Judge Swartz also handles a civil docket and a criminal docket, and I handle the family court docket along with Judge Devereaux over here. So between the two of us, we ought to be able, Amy, to answer any questions that you would have. Also, Rick has been really instrumental, along with the other judges, in helping us to get the orders together. And we all were in a long meeting yesterday that will be going out around midday today. This is our 7th set of orders in the last 2 months since we wound down most of the proceedings here on the 22nd. It takes about a week to get those orders together because we have to coordinate, and that's with not only the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, the district attorney, the public defender's office, and other partners here to get the orders done and make sure they work for everyone here. We have a lot of expectations going into next week. I know the public is excited in a cautious way about many things reopening. With the court system, just to let everyone know, for about 2 months now, we've had a skeleton crew over here at the 22nd. Judge Schwartz and myself and all the other judges have been here on a daily basis. We have at least 2 and sometimes more than that judges throughout the winding down, if you will, in the last 2 months of the public access here in the courthouse. So we've been manning the ship the entire time, working on the reopening of court, which will begin on Monday. We call it a soft opening, and that's because we'll talk about some limitations that we'll have on access. But we're excited about it, and we thank you for asking us to do this, Amy. So we'll go back and forth a little bit between Judge Schwartz and myself on the various topics that you'd like to talk about. But the orders today, everyone will be able to see them online. So we have a website. It's www.22ndjdc.org. They will also go on the Supreme Court's website. And the Bar Association gets those. So all the lawyers, if any of them are listening, the rather extensive orders about the opening of court will go out a little bit later this afternoon, or about midday, I would say. We're just doing some final touches on those. But Judge Swartz and I know what is in the order, and that's what we'll be talking about today, Amy.
Okay, great. So let's talk about phase 1. Everyone is talking about the 25% occupancy requirement. Is that going to apply? And can you talk to people about some of the safety measures that are going to be in place when they do come to the court, and what they will need, what will be expected of them, the public, when they walk in the door?
Sure. Rick, do you want to talk about that?
Certainly. Thank you, Amy, for having us on today. And I want you to know that our Chief Judge has done a wonderful job in working through this crisis with everyone and developing these orders. Outstanding. We appreciate the cooperation of the parish and the district attorney's office and the clerk of court's office and the sheriff's office in helping us to implement these orders. As to the number, the 25% rule, we have evaluated our courtrooms and we have determined how many people we can have in each courtroom. A normal courtroom will have about 14 people in it with safe distancing of 6 feet. The people that come into the courthouse going through security are going to have their temperatures taken. They will be required to wear masks. Of course, they will have to abide by the safe distancing rules. Only 2 people could access an elevator at one time. If you are transiting the hallways, you need to stay within the 6 feet distancing rule and also abide by the orders of any bailiff concerning those matters.
And Rick, if you don't mind, would you address, particularly on behalf of the criminal judges, how you're going to reserve or renotice everyone for the court dates that have been missed? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I can. Of course, we will not have any type of misdemeanor or traffic matters until June. I believe on the misdemeanor matters, the first date that we will have as of today would be on June 8th. So anybody that has not appeared or had a subpoena to appear for a misdemeanor matter during the months of March, April, and May up till that June 8th date would have to come and be reserved for these new court dates, which would be the reservice week will be May 26th through May 29th in both St. Tammany and Washington Parish, and it will be from 8:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. on those days. So if you had a subpoena to appear in court, those court matters were canceled, please come during that week and get new service concerning your matter. In St. Tammany Parish, that service will take place outside the courthouse on the south steps of the courthouse. In Washington Parish, the service will take place at the 9/11 building near the courthouse, which I think is known as the old Franklinton Police Department.
So not to interrupt you, but can I ask you a
Yes.
quick question? Should the person call first? Should they just show up? Is it first come, first serve?
So they should just show up. We will have a number of people trying to assist the public at that time. Hopefully they won't all show up at the same time because of course we will have hundreds of matters to be reserved but they I'm told to be very organized and try to move these matters along quickly. Now, if you have a traffic ticket and you simply would like to pay that traffic ticket, you can go online with the sheriff's office and pay the traffic ticket. There will be no late fees assessed in any of these matters, and that would simplify it if you feel that it's appropriate for you to pay the ticket.
Okay, great. So
also,
go ahead.
We also have felony matters that, in fact, that's mainly what we will be dealing with next week in the criminal arena. Mm-hmm. We have 5 divisions that are going to have some criminal court next week. It's kind of, as Judge Amaker told you, it's kind of a soft opening, but we are going to try to test things and make sure our procedures are working properly. So we have limited dockets, but we do have a number of people coming into the courthouse. So if you have a court date for next week, you need to make sure that your matter is not going forward before you don't appear. But if you do have some dates that have already passed that you had a subpoena for, and of course they were canceled, you also could be reserved for those felony matters between the dates of June 1st and June 5th in the same manner that we just discussed about misdemeanor traffic.
Okay. And how would someone, I would imagine most people know this already, but how would someone know how to sort of check on the status of what they've been served with?
You could call the clerk's office. They will have a record of whether or not you were to appear in court. I think that's the way, it's the preferred way, because if we start calling the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office, it might be a little burdensome to them. So I would suggest you contact your attorney if you have one,
Right.
and they can tell you. And then you can call the clerk's office and they can tell you if you needed to be here. But all you would probably need to do is look at your subpoena and know if it was in those dates that we were under the stay-at-home order, then those matters did not go forward, and you would need to get reserved.
Okay, great. All right, now we talked about criminal felony, and then let's talk about family court. Can we talk about that for a minute, touch on that, and what's the process going to be for that?
Well, I think most of the public is aware that certainly during this period of crisis, I guess there's no other way of putting it, that we've had the last couple of months, the family court matters have accumulated. I'm sure you've read, in the press that throughout the world, domestic violence has increased. And we know that we're already getting an increase in the protective orders that are coming in and the requests for emergency services of the court. The criminal matters will increase that involve domestic violence. Judge Schwartz and I rely very much on and appreciate the services of our commissioners. Some of you know Commissioner Dan Foyle. So we have one commissioner right now that handles not only the criminal matters for the criminal judges to a large extent, those preliminary matters, but also our very extensive protective order docket that we have. And this provides protection to abused parties, mostly women and children. But it works out that every day of the week they're involved, not only the judges in signing the temporary restraining orders, but then our hearings are going forward beginning next week. We have an accumulation right now of over 75 of those that have to be reset. And then we have the current ones that are coming in as we speak. I will mention, Amy, and I think the public would be interested, that our judges decided this year to try to get a second commissioner who would be primarily doing the domestic violence docket. And this has been very exciting. In fact, the Senate hearing on our bill was the day that the Senate shut down, if you will. And Senator Beth Mizell is carrying that bill for us. She asked me, and the judges agreed for us to hold that bill for the legislature to deal with the emergency issues that they have right now. In the special session, we'll be hoping to have that bill back in front of the appropriate committees and hopefully pass as soon as that's approved, and also approved by the Supreme Court. This will help out with that docket.
Right.
We've worked with so many people in trying to get that bill prepared. Just to finish up on family court, because I know Rick talked about what happens if you have a court date you missed. In family court, the divisions will begin next week in catching up with the cases and resetting those and adding them onto our dockets that we already have. Most of us are appearing remotely for almost all hearings. Our judges are up to speed on that. They're very advanced in technology. I think you caught Judge Labello a few moments ago before we got started with Judge Schwartz and I. Our younger judges are very proficient in that and helping the rest of us get up to speed on technology.
Adaptation during this time. It's good to see. So, okay, good. Well, let's move on to anything you want to talk about, okay, so some people may have questions about criminal matters and inmates. What would you like to say about any changes in that situation or anything people need to know?
Well, in dealing with the jail and inmates, we have been handling a number of their cases by Zoom and been able to take pleas, guilty pleas. We've been able to address bond issues, other types of motion matters in connection with those people that are incarcerated. That process will continue during this period of time because there's not going to be any transporting of inmates from the jail to the courthouse.
Okay.
And that's for a number of reasons. But we will be able to continue to have arraignments by Zoom, take guilty pleas by Zoom, handle all those motions by Zoom. It's worked very well. It's a little more time consuming than what, of course, goes on in the courtroom. But I think all of the judges have been very happy with the process and very happy with the cooperation of the sheriff's office and the people at the jail, and also our public defenders and the assistant DAs and private counsel. We've all worked together and it's worked well.
Okay, great. And then we also have specialty courts in St. Tammany Parish and Washington Parish and the 22nd Judicial, which are very important to many people. So can we touch on the specialty courts and how that will go forward in phase one?
Yes. As you probably know, and I'm going to boast a little bit about our court here, we have more specialty courts than any other court in this state. We have drug courts, a sobriety court, a veterans court, a reentry court, 2 family preservation courts, and a behavioral health court. So we are invested heavily in our jurisdiction into these specialty courts because we feel that it is a way to reduce recidivism and help people with their underlying issues such as substance abuse and mental illness. So we have continued those courts throughout this process, and again through the Zoom process. All of our specialty courts are meeting by Zoom. We will continue to meet by Zoom, and that probably will go past this June date that we've been discussing, because there are so many people in the specialty courts. We would bring a lot of people into this courthouse and create possibly overcrowding that we do not want to do at this point, and probably not in the near future. So we've been able to handle all of this matters by Zoom, and I assume we will continue to do.
Great. Well, that is great news. I'm sorry. Go
Amy,
ahead,
if I could just mention and add to something that Judge Schwartz just said. Some of you are aware, probably not everyone, that we've been without a judge in a division because we had our dear colleague Judge Peter Garcia passed away right before the orders began to shut down essentially a lot of our courtroom activity. And he was heavily involved in a specialty court that handles mental health issues. And we're hoping, let's see, Rick, do we have someone who's taking on the mental health court that Judge Garcia had?
Judge Zomberger has been actually handling it for several months.
Okay. Yeah. So, and now also the Supreme Court yesterday, we got orders where in that division, we've been down one judge without Judge Garcia. We have Judge Martin Cody. We call him Marty Cody. Many people know Judge Cody. He just retired. He'll be back with us for a period of time in that division, hopefully be with us until a new judge eventually is elected in that division.
Well, good. I'm certain lots of folks miss Judge Garcia, and it is good to know, especially for people who may have not been back in the court or who may enter the court, to know that there is someone there, Judge Zomberger, taking that over, and Judge Cody, and we certainly do miss Judge Garcia. So we are very sorry for your loss there in the 22nd Judicial. So is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? I know we have a phone number that we will give out for questions for the general public. We have your website, which is www.22ndjdc.org, and it's 22, the number's 22 for the 22nd. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Any other messages you want to give to the public? We certainly appreciate everyone's patience and adaptability during this time, especially the court system. And we just want to make sure that everyone is aware of everything you need for them to know. So anything else you want to touch on, just feel free to do so right now.
Well, I'll start out and I'll let Judge Schwartz finish up for us. We just thank you. I want to personally thank, I know Rick mentioned it earlier, but the parish, and particularly the parish president and the council and everything that they've done for us. One example I'll give you is Wi-Fi. For years, we have not had Wi-Fi, the judges here. And just a mention to the parish president was enough for us today to be able to speak with you and handle our Zoom conferences from our offices and from our benches. And this means a lot in an age when this is the primary means of communication. We've had great response. The building managers that handle everything for the parish, they have been fantastic. I also want to mention our judicial administrators, Amy. I know you've dealt with Ms. Edelman, Rachel Edelman, who was in here earlier helping Judge Schwartz and I get prepared, and also Amber Mitchell. They have worked nonstop from the beginning. They're the ones that really do a lot of the hard work coordinating everything, and we thank them so much. And if the public has questions about access to the courthouse or anything else, you can always call the judicial administrator's number, and that is provided along with everything else in the court orders that are going to go out. But we thank you for letting us have this opportunity, and I'll let Judge Schwartz finish up with anything else he thinks that we need to let the public know.
Great.
Yep. I'd like to touch on a couple of matters. Judge Gardner has been doing a wonderful job with the juvenile court. He has continued to operate almost at full strength during this period, mainly through Zoom and the internet. But he's able to handle all of his hearings. And in Zoom hearings, we have some requirements in terms of appropriate dress and also who could be present during those meetings. Those are in the order, so the attorneys need to check that out. From a civil standpoint, we really haven't done a lot of civil work during this period of time, but we've handled a lot of status matters by telephone, and we've been able to eliminate some matters through just simply submitting it on a brief rather than having oral argument. But those matters will go forward in person beginning on our June 1st date as scheduled, unless you have further communication from the court. So if you have a subpoena for a civil matter after June 1st, you need to make sure that you contact the court or you appear at that time. Also, in connection with access, we talked about the clerk's office. We have the information in the order about how to contact both the St. Tammany and Washington Parish Clerk's Office concerning any matters that concern you. And also filing continues to take place in both of those courts. Again, we're all working together to try to get through this crisis time, and everybody needs to cooperate, especially if you're coming to the courthouse and going through security. We need you to cooperate with the court's order and wear a mask, get your temperature taken, obey the directions of our bailiffs and our security. And again, thank you very much, Amy, for having us on. We appreciate it greatly.
Great. So thank you both for joining us. We are going to share the 22nd Judicial Court's link and lots of this information on our COVID-19 page on the parish website, which is www.stpgov.org/COVID-19. So we want to thank you both, Judge Amaker, Judge Schwartz, for being with us today. Have a great weekend. And that will conclude our update.